Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. We're ready to begin the meeting of the Selby and Ainsty Area Planning Committee. Can the people seated in the public gallery confirm that they are able to hear me? One of these days, you're all going to play a trick on me and you're going to say, no, I can't. Thank you. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube so that the public can view and listen to the meeting remotely. And in the interest of openness and transparency, I must also make you aware that it's being recorded and will be available to view on North Yorkshire Council's website. If you have a mobile phone, could you put it on silent or turn it off, please? Dare I say, always amuses me. If you need to go to the toilet, up to reception and turn right. And if the fire alarm goes off, it's for real. It is not a test. So, members, officers and public speakers using the microphone in the chamber, please make sure the mic is close to your mouth and you speak clearly and loudly. Officers in attendance today to support this meeting are Kate Lavelle, solicitor, Emma Howson, development manager, management team manager, Martin Evans, principal planning officer, Ellis Mortimer, senior planning officer, Dawn Drury, democratic services officer, and Vicky Day, highways. Before I move to the agenda, I should remind everyone that this meeting is being streamed live publicly and therefore is accessible to a wide audience. In accordance with the usual practice of public meetings, I look forward to a respectful debate between members. So, item number 1, apologies for absence. We are all here. Item number 2, the minutes of the meetings, and I'll take them together because they were basically on the same subject anyway. Minutes held of the 13th and the 10th of September. Can we confirm those as correct? And can I have a proposer, Councillor Packham, seconded by Councillor Lunn? All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Declarations of interest, please, colleagues. Councillor Lunn first.
Thank you. Just that I have some insurance policies with the NFU, but it will not affect in any way the way I look at this. Thank you.
Then Councillor Arthur.
Yes, my employer network reel is mentioned in the report, so I'm just registering that. It doesn't affect my judgment on this subject, so I'll still be staying and voting.
Councillor Packham.
Thanks, Chair. So I've had lobbying letters from a local resident at the parish council and from the local member.
I'll add that I've had that. Councillor Shawright saying that. Councillor Warnicombe.
Yes, Chairman, just to say that I'm a member of the NFU as a farm, and I have insurance policies with them as well. Thank you.
I think that's everybody, isn't it? Thank you for that. In which case, item number 4, land off Low Eggborough Road, Eggborough. And I'm going to invite Martin to present.
Thank you, Chair. Brief update. Firstly, since the report was drafted, 3 additional objections have been received, which raise no new issues beyond those already considered in the agenda. Furthermore, a Mr. Ian Reynolds has provided a sworn affidavit confirming he acts for some of the site landowners, and he
Sorry, can you just hold on a moment, Martin? Councillor Shortley.
I just don't know about the ruling for calling for a site visit, Chair.
Thought you might. I'm going to pass that over to our solicitor.
We'll consider that after you've seen the presentation and you have all the facts in front of you.
Carry on, Martin.
Thank you. So the sworn affidavit restates the case previously made by the applicant regarding why he considers the proposed access arrangements to be acceptable. None of this additional information changes the recommendation in the agenda. I will move on to the presentation. So as the agenda states, this is application ZG 2023 1275 full M for demolition of the farmhouse and associated agricultural buildings, and the erection of 107 dwellings, together with the creation of a new access onto Low Egborough Road, internal roads, landscaping, drainage, and the formation of an emergency access onto the A19. That's land off Low Egborough Road in Egborough. This is the site location plan, with the site outlined in red. The brown area indicates the wider allocation Egg 3. You can see here that the northwestern half approximately has already been developed. This is a helpful Google Maps image. You can see the housing estate currently under development to the southwest of the application site, and the grassland character of the application site itself. This is the proposed site layout. You can see as a single vehicular access from Low Egborough Road, and a simple loop arrangement with a series of private cul-de-sacs leading from it. This is the open space plan. The open space is in linear format. It's shown in light green. This is the drainage plan. Foul drainage would connect to a point in Low Egborough Road to existing Yorkshire Water facilities, and surface water would drain to the southwest into Slates Drain. This is the tree removal plan and tree retention plan. Those areas shown in red are areas of removal. Those in green are to be retained. This is the engineering drawing for the access to Low Egborough Road. As you can see, Low Egborough Road would be redesigned to turn into the site, and it would be the major road in this arrangement. This drawing shows proposed road widening and highway improvements further north up Low Egborough Road. And this is the emergency access onto the A19. Now follows a series of images of the housing design. So there's some street view or street scene images. And this is a selection of the houses themselves. This is a plan provided by the applicant showing the application site in relation to two ransom strips to the northwest, shown by the blue and green lines, and also the extent of the adopted highway within the Harron Homes development to the northwest. This is a series of photographs of the surrounding area. So this is Water Lane to the northern end of Low Egborough Road. And this is as you turn into Low Egborough Road. This is the northern end. This is looking south down Low Egborough Road. This is looking north, back up Low Egborough Road. This image is of Low Egborough Road near the site frontage, and you can see in here, this is the existing build out that narrows the carriageway width. And this is the build out viewed from the south. And this is the site frontage itself, a series of dilapidated agricultural buildings currently present on the site. This is the farmhouse that would be demolished as part of the scheme. And these are the agricultural buildings that would be knocked down. And here you can see the grassland character of the site, along with the existing peripheral landscaping. This is the existing housing estate to the northwest of the site, built by Harron Homes. and this is Slate's Drain on the southwestern boundary. With that concludes the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have questions to the officers? And I mention officers because we've also got Vicky from Highways here. So any questions, please? Councillor Packham.
Thanks, Chair. Just a few clarifications, please. You mentioned the build out on Low Eggborough Road. Is that before or after the access to the proposed site? Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's before. So the build out is to the north of the proposed access. Thank you.
So does that mean it'll be still there, basically?
Yes, that's correct, Councillor. Yes.
A couple of other clarifications, please, Chair, for which I will need my glasses. The first one relates to the affordable housing. On the affordable housing, I noticed that we've got 6 one-bedroom dwellings and no social rent. Is that something that the affordable housing officer has found acceptable?
Yes, Councillor. The precise mix presented at paragraph 10.86 of the report has been sent to the affordable housing team. They support the mix and they're particularly keen on the 1-bed units. They say they're very much needed. Thank you.
The next one relates to para 716 and the noise inside properties. I think there's a condition relating to that, but could you just qualify that for us? Because it appears from the report that there's an issue, but I think it's addressed by the condition. If you could just confirm that.
Yes, Councillor, you're quite right. Paragraphs 10.106 onwards discuss in effect why the noise impacts of the development and related to being next to the A19 are acceptable. In short, a condition recommended in the agenda would secure suitable internal noise levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And one last one. I noticed that the BNG isn't secured. Again, that's referred to as being something that can be achieved through conditions in 106. Can you just clarify that that's the case, please?
Yes, Councillor, that is correct. Yes.
Any further questions, please, colleagues? If not, I'm going to move on to the speakers. And the first speaker we have is an objector, and that is Terry Wright. Could I invite you to come up to the desk? And you have 5 minutes. It is 5 minutes, isn't it? Oh, dear me. Keeps on changing. You have 5 minutes to address the committee.
Thank you. I'd just like to reiterate that I am a resident. I don't live on Low Eggborough Road. I live on Water Lane, which is off Water Lane, off Low Eggborough Road. And I'd also like to note that in the aforementioned presentation, Water Lane wasn't discussed. It's a single track road off Low Eggborough Road. It has no turning circle. Delivery vehicles need to reverse out onto Low Eggborough Road. And it's a blind reverse junction. It's significant danger. So moving on, this application with its proposed access via Water Lane and Low Eggborough Road must be rejected due to the significant safety issues with this proposed access. Access off Low Eggborough Road is totally unsafe and unsuitable. Water Lane at Selby Road junction has poor visibility and is over a 100-degree junction. The minimum visibility displays that are confirmed by North Yorkshire County Council cannot be achieved. Therefore, any increase in traffic will increase danger to all road users and pedestrians who cross the road to access the busy store and church. This junction is already very busy and frequent issues due to parking around the post office and store and Methodist Church, there's been 4 recent accidents with 1 vehicle fully written off. The Water Lane, Lower Road junction is a tight bend with poor visibility and frequent issues due to residents parking illegally. White House Avenue had no turning circle. This results in delivery and other visitors reversing out onto an almost blind junction onto Lower Road. And Lower Road is narrow, only 4 metres wide at points, and failed bin collections occur because a lorry is unable to pass a single parked vehicle on this road. Residents have to work together to make sure the road is clear on bin day or bin collections fail. This is also a very busy road for walkers as it's the main access into the countryside from Edinburgh. As the council has declined a site visit, please look at the photos which I provided earlier this week and should be in a pack, and you can see how ridiculous this proposal really is. Selby Council made a condition of development for this land to be via the ransom strips of Heron Homes and Taylor Wimper developments, as Lloyd Road wasn't safe. This condition has been removed without any explanation or consultation. It's in the interests of ransom strip owners to do a deal. It's worthless unless a deal is done. Therefore, you have to question whether Persimmons have actively discussed a real opportunity. So Persimmons have ignored suitable access points purely down to their cost and are willing to put public safety at risk for profit. North Yorkshire County Council must not. Edinburgh, despite what Persimmons say, isn't a well-connected village. Its public transport links are almost zero. 1 bus service, the 476, each day to Selby and Pontefract. No direct services to any areas of high employment. 1 train service a day. However, currently village train users travel to Nottingham as fares are nearly half the price due to area boundaries. A Nottingham train station car park is now full daily, meaning that any parking causes an obstruction within Nottingham, and any additional parking will cause a further obstruction. Therefore, most homeowners of this new development will be forced to use their own transport to travel due to the lack of public transport, which is in direct contrast to the National Planning Policy Framework guidelines. Nearly all travel will be by private vehicle, and the large homes of 2 to 4 car families will create up to 300 additional journeys per day on Lower Road and Water Lane. That's nearly 600 vehicle movements when you consider a vehicle goes in and out, with 468 of these movements being during peak times. As a resident, this application will bring daily traffic danger, noise and pollution. It will shatter the quiet and peaceful location in which we live and cause daily pedestrian safety issues. I'm not against well-planned development. However, this proposal access is clearly unsuitable and unsafe. When this land was considered by Selby Council, as I've already said, development was a condition that access was through either Heron Homes or Taylor Wimper developments. Persimmons must be instructed to agree safe and suitable access and via these routes before this development is considered for approval. Therefore, I urge the council to reject this application in its current form on the reasons of health and safety. Thank you.
I was going to apologise to you because I forgot to tell you that at 30 seconds to go,
Oh, sorry.
that you finished spot on time. So thank
She
you.
told me I had to, otherwise I was in trouble.
So just for clarification, yes, at 4 minutes 30 seconds, Dawn holds up that lovely sign, and then with 10 seconds to go.
I want to see it. I had my glasses on.
Anyway, thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed. Second speaker we have is from Parish Council, and that is Christian Cotter.
9 o'clock.
I have someone to do it for me.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christian.
Could you bring the microphone a little bit closer?
Better? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christian, and I would first like to apologise due to some mild duplication of what Terry's just spoke about, but I do hope it does nothing but reinforce the very, very salient points that he has just made. So I sit on the parish council. I've done for 6 years. Eggborough is a village now of over 1,200 homes, up from 658 homes in 1997. The councillors and myself have done some marginal inquirements. At the surgery, on the 9 times we inquired, there is 0 appointments available. Speaking to residents on the south side of the village, the water pressure is now incomprehensibly bad, to the point they can't run a tap upstairs and downstairs at the same time. Raw sewage is backed up 11 times in the last 36 months into homes and properties. Again, all raised with Yorkshire Water, all by the same systems that you plan on connecting this development to. The power outages in the village have been a running joke throughout the last 2 years, and over the last 6 months, it's just incomprehensible how much of a disruption it causes to people's lives. Low Eggborough Road itself, which this development discusses, has had multiple refuse collections failed due to legally parked cars where they cannot get a refuse truck past somebody who is parked within guidelines. The antisocial behaviour in Eggborough Village is the combination of all 12 local villages 500% more. It all goes to show a completely failing infrastructure due to lack of investment with additional housing pressures in this village over the last few years. Low Eggborough Road that we're discussing today is a cluster of 17 small houses in a rural location. This outlandish proposal is yet another example of corporate profiteering at the exponential expense of residents. Multiple factors deem this site completely ineligible for development. The access onto Selby Road, as Terry spoke about, does not meet basic requirements. The transport models that you've used for this development are farcical. There is no bus access barring one. The train connections do not fit in with any working pattern to go and earn a day's wage. Safe access is easily achievable through other options. The developers are profiteering at the expense of residents because they don't want to pay a ransom strip. The Optima transport assessments used in this are a joke. They may work in central York where perfectly adequate walking routes, local amenities. They do not work in villages like this where the only way of earning the ridiculous sums that are required to purchase these properties, barring your 11 affordable houses, are to travel to York, to Leeds, to Doncaster, to Selby. You can't get here unless you're going to walk. The walking distances to all local amenities are far beyond anything that anybody will think acceptable. The nearest bus stop is going to be the thick end of 3/4 of a mile. The developer on this is yet again profiteering. There is minimal affordable housing. The primary question has to be, if the 75% of the previous developments of the village are sat unsold after 2 years, why do we need more of these homes? They are there for everybody to see. If the councillors would happily oblige in our request to do a site visit, you will drive past them. They are sat there for 2 years with for sale signs on. People cannot afford them and people do not want to live in them. The previous North Yorkshire study showed on the houses on Low Eggborough Road that back onto the A19, the noise limitations are breached. What are these mitigations that we are told will make these houses so amazingly soundproof? Because they're not in there. There is no mitigations. The properties will be exposed to huge developments of Eggborough Power Station site, the Euro auctions that offer low economic opportunity jobs with the industrial scale transport that is going to be running in and out of there. That A19 will do nothing but get considerably busier. The footway that leads to the site is 1.4 metres. You can tell me you're going to widen it. You're not. We've spoken to the residents. They're not there. They're not willing to sell the land. You don't have enough room as a council to expand. In summary, this development cannot be approved. You will have to tear up half of your own rule book if you do, because it doesn't fulfil it. The fact that it's even got here with the recommendation for approval is just staggering. So I will go over by 5 seconds. I do apologise. but I have been asked, and please take this in the context that it has been given to me, if this development is approved by the council, who will refuse to attend site with the parish councillors, every member of the parish council, from the chair, the vice chair, to every member, resigns. That's how strongly we feel about this. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could turn that off. Just to point out, this committee has not refused to do a site visit. We have not. No, that was a completely different situation. The committee has not. Right, the next speaker is not here, but Dawn has got a statement from the Divisional Councillor, John McCartney.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry I could not be here with you today. Firstly, I think that you should hold a site visit to look for yourselves at the issues that I'm going to raise with you today. This proposal is on part of a larger site that was brought forward about 20 years ago from the then emerging Selby local plan. Jack Crawford was the planning chair back then. A codicil to the brought forward decision was that the majority of the site must be accessed via Selby Road, with a maximum of just 27 homes being accessed from Lower Egborough Road. Those 27 homes have already been provided on the Harron Homes estate. Lower Egborough Road is a narrow rural lane sitting within an urban village. It is a cul-de-sac. How will residents be able to get to and from their homes when construction is ongoing? We need a site visit to see it. The junction with Selby Road is incredibly busy, with the Premier's shop and post office and the Methodist church opposite it. The Premier store and post office serves Egborough, Whitley, Kellington, Hensel, whose post office recently closed, Bourne and Quidlin Stubbs. Although it has a reasonably sized car park, it attracts a large number of vehicles, cars, vans and lorries parked on Selby Road and on Water Lane, which is the access road to Lower Egborough Road. The Methodist Hall is a vibrant attraction holding a packed out weekly Thursday coffee morning, theatre and cinema. All attract residents from surrounding communities and they have to drive and park to be able to attend the venue. You need to go and see this for yourselves by holding a site visit. The restriction of only 27 homes on Lower Egborough Road was very sensible. Unfortunately and disgracefully, North Yorkshire Highways and Selby District Council put the developers' profits before road safety by scrapping that restriction. Providing a pathetic 10% of affordable homes when we have a housing crisis is appalling. Over the last 2 years, 601 families in the Selby area have been accepted as homeless by North Yorkshire Council. What is the point of building many hundreds of houses, which is what is happening in Egborough, if they make no difference to the Selby housing crisis by providing affordable homes to buy or rent? Persimmons do not care about the housing crisis and those 601 homeless people in the Selby area. The question today, councillors, is do you? If you do pass this today, please increase the number of affordable homes, and if the powers that be say that you cannot do that, then refuse it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. The last speaker I have is the agent, Mark Lane.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. I'm going to keep this fairly brief, as the committee report is comprehensive and an excellent document. However, I want to highlight a number of key points. The scheme is for 107 dwellings on land largely allocated for housing and known as Egg 3. The remaining land is unallocated and contains agricultural buildings, hard standings and a farmhouse. All of the site lies within the development limits. The principle of development is plainly acceptable. The allocation was made in the Selby local plan, which was adopted in 2005. The allocation proposed many years before the plan was adopted, and the plan is now extremely old. Planning policies, land ownership, and other matters have moved on since that plan was adopted. This is acknowledged in your officer's report, which confirms the most important policies of the plan are out of date. Further, as Selby also cannot demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply, the so-called tilted balance is engaged. This means that planning permission should be granted unless the adverse impacts of doing so would significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits. This raises the bar in relation to when an impact or policy issue would result in development being deemed unacceptable. In our view, the proposed development would bring forward a number of benefits. These include the proposal would contribute towards meeting the significant unmet need for both market and affordable housing at a time when the council has an acute shortfall. 96 open market houses and 11 affordable homes are proposed at an appropriate density. More affordable homes are proposed than required by policy EG 3. The housing mix is predominantly 2 and 3 bedroom homes, reflecting the need in Eggborough. All dwellings are M42 compliant and 6 dwellings are M43 compliant. The latter relates to wheelchair user adaptability. The provision of dwellings meeting these standards is not a policy requirement. All of the dwellings meet NDSS standards. Again, this is not a policy requirement. All dwellings will have air source heat pumps and EV chargers. No self-built properties are proposed, but this is not a policy requirement. A linear area of open space and a lap is proposed. More open space is proposed than is required by policy. The scheme has been well designed and retains most of the trees and reflects the character, in my view, of this part of Eggborough. £126,000 is to be provided to improve the healthcare provision and £135,000 to improve the bus service, both of which are significant social benefits which will provide wider benefits to the community. The scheme provides access via Low Eggborough Road, and although this is not the vehicle access point required by EG 3, this alternative access is proposed to be safe and achievable and is supported by your highways officers. As requested by officers, access into Harron Homes development has been explored by the applicant and the applicant's agent, Stevenson's, and access into the Harron Homes development simply cannot be achieved. In the words of your officers, this is an insurmountable issue that cannot be resolved. As stated in your officer's report, if access is not taken from Low Eggborough Road, this allocation would be sterilised at a time when the council has only a 2.4-year housing land supply. The scheme does not comply with all of the criteria in policy EG 3, but the local plan is out of date and the policy does not reflect what has happened on the ground. The benefits of the proposed development significantly and demonstrably outweigh the harm, which only relates to policy issues which were formulated over 20 years ago. There is no technical objections to the scheme. I therefore wholly endorse your officer's recommendation and hope you grant planning permission today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, that's the 4 speakers, colleagues. I can now open the debate stage, but reminding you that you can ask questions as well. Councillor Packham just beat you to it, Councillor Warner.
He's probably going to say the same thing.
I'm using your notes. Thanks, Chair. I think, first of all, we've got to bear in mind this is an allocated site. And although the proposed development doesn't comply with that completely, particularly in terms of access, so to my mind, that makes the only issue in this case access, because I think that the questions that I asked Martin earlier clarified the other problems that we thought might exist, and I don't think they do. So from that point of view, I think what I need to know clearly is, sorry, just to add, I accept the explanation that the access as proposed in the local plan is not viable as it stands. I think that's very clear from Martin's report. So with the access that we've got, I think there's 2 or 3 things which have been raised, which I think are of great relevance. And that is firstly, the achievement of the splays. Secondly, access and turning for bin lorries. And secondly, I'm concerned about the pinch point in the road as well. I have actually visited the site, and moving on from that, I think in essence, my view is that the issue is whether the problems with the access are such that they outweigh the tilted balance of the benefits from the development as explained by the agent. And I think as councillors, we need to make that assessment. And I appreciate that we do have highway authorities advice on this in the report, but I do believe we need to test the highway authorities assessment on site so that councillors can properly assess that balance. So from that point of view, I believe that potentially we probably need to have a site visit. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Warnican. No, I was right. He did say what I was going to say, Chair. It's amazing. He does that all the time, doesn't he, Councillor Warnican? Councillor Shawright.
Yeah, I've been slightly flippant. I thought Councillor McCartney's contribution was well presented today. Probably slightly better than if Councillor McCartney presented it himself. And having said that, I did refuse to go to visit the site. I don't think we should be going as individual councillors. I explained to the person who wrote to me that that wasn't what we would do. Had I known Bob was going to, I might have gone with him. I do feel we need to go and have a look for us to assess on the ground. I've just had a quick look on Rightmove, and what the guy said, there are quite a few houses on Selby Road in negative for sale. So there's some merit in that. I do think as well, as a committee, we need to be speaking to the Affordable Homes Coordinated team, wherever they are, because they get it so wrong every time. We need to look at the policy that we've got, because I just don't think it suits what the people need, because some of those houses, 400 grand seems to be the bottom price. And knowing some of the employment opportunities, as the parish councillor said, they ain't 400 grand salaries to pay for those. So I'd like to support Councillor Packham's proposal for a site visit, Chair.
Thank you for that. And now Councillor Crane.
Well, I'll be singing from a very similar hymn sheet here, Chairman. I think we should go and have a look. Having read the report, I was of the view that we should grant permission, but the highways, it just seems a problem to me. And I would want to go along and have a look and see whether or not an extra 100 houses could be accommodated there, because I'm not absolutely sure that they could be. The other answers I think we have, like Councillor Shawright and I think Councillor Packham, I found it highly surprising that we only need 1-bedroom properties in Egborough. I didn't realise that everybody in Egborough lived entirely on their own, but perhaps our friends from Egborough will tell us that that's the case. So I would like to make a decision today, but I think given everything in front of us, a site visit is the way forward. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lunn.
Thank you, Chair. I notice this coming down again to the highways issue, and we've been here before with various other things, and we do have a lack of a 5-year land supply. When we've done it before on highways issues, we have been advised to withdraw on appeal because that the highways are not supporting what we are saying. So I think we should have a site visit to better ascertain and make a better decision. Thank you.
Councillor Warnican, do you want to come back?
Yes, Chairman. I just wanted to pick up on what Councillor Crane said because I wasn't quite clear. He referenced about only being 1-bedroom properties. So that wasn't the mix that I was reading in the report. No, so there's 6 1-bedroom properties, 3 2-bedroom properties, and
but the majority are 1-bedroom.
Okay, just for clarification, Mark. Yeah, thank you. Sorry if I can come back. I'm surprised that we needed 6 one-bedroom properties, but okay, maybe I didn't understand the housing mix in Eggborough as well as I should. And if we do go down there for a site visit, would we have somebody from the highways team with us?
Well, that would be an absolute definite. Dare I say, it's only thee and me, Councillor Arthur. Was there anything you wanted to add, or has it all been said?
Yes, I also favour going to the foresight visit as well.
Thank you. Please do.
Just so you're all fully aware, there's a current deadline extension on the application to the 15th of October. So just so you make a potential decision in full possession of all of the facts, it is open to the applicant to refuse a further deadline extension and to appeal against non-determination of the application, which would obviously take the power away from the council to make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm going to bring Kate in on. Hold on. No, it's normally if you've missed anything of the presentation, and dare I say the other thing would be how long, but I personally would think you're fine. I will leave that to the solicitor.
Thank you. I was going to say something about site visits. So the decision as to whether a site visit, and this is for members of the public as well, we have a constitution, we have a code of conduct when it comes to site visits and how they progress. So a site visit can be held if the planning development manager, in consultation with the chair, considers that it will assist. Now, in order for them to make that decision, because it's not members who decide whether to have a site visit, you can request one. But these people here make the decision. Obviously, to do that, we'd need to know precisely what your reasons are that you couldn't glean from the presentation that you think is necessary for a site visit. I realise that you all made various comments there, but I think we need to come up with some bullet points here before we can take a decision whether a site visit can be held. Secondly, there's the other point to think about as well, which Martin raised, is the issue of non-determination. Obviously, if the applicant does decide that the deadline is passed and it's an issue of non-determination, then it will be up to them to appeal. It goes before an inspector. The inspector will look at the report and he'll look at whether the council's acted reasonably or not in possibly deferring for a site visit. What were the reasons for that site visit? Whilst I know, you all know that the risk of adverse costs shouldn't be taken into account as a material consideration or in the exercise of your planning judgment, but it should serve as a reminder that you must have reasons for refusal that can stand up to scrutiny with robust evidence. So that's to really focus your minds as well on whether you wish to defer for reasons of a site visit, what are those reasons, and are they robust, and where we go from there. So I think in conclusion, could you just tell me again why you'd like a site visit? And the reasons why you couldn't glean the information from Martin's presentation.
I'm going to bring in Councillor Packham.
Thanks, Chair. I think we were fairly clear that the reason that we want the site visit is primarily to look at Low Eggborough Road. The reasons we want to look at Low Eggborough Road is because concern has been expressed about scope for turning and access for bin lorries, issues about the pinch point in the road, and other access issues, and things like the splays as well. And I would like to stand on site with the highway officer and have them explain to me why the proposals that are being put forward are acceptable. And we've not actually had that yet. We've been told they are, but it's not been explained to us why they are. Moving on to the non-determination issue, I think it's unfortunate that that is the position, but frankly, we will hopefully be able to bring this back very quickly because we're only looking at one aspect of it. And unless we can persuade the highways officer otherwise, they've already made their decision on what they think. And it may well be that when we come back, we come to the conclusion that the balance that the officers have reached is correct. So if the applicant then went to appeal on non-determination, he'd probably have to wait quite a long time for his decision, and we would have approved it. So I think that there needs to be a degree. We're not saying that we want to refuse it at this point. We're saying we want to check those issues so that we can assess whether we've got the proper balance. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Just to mention that all 6 of you asked for a site visit. I'm happy to concur with that. So I'm going to go over to Emma.
I was just going to mention we do have the highways officer with us today. So is there any questions that might be able to be clarified while we have the highways officers with us that may not require or necessitate a visit, if we could clear up those matters beforehand?
Right, I'm going to come in because I mentioned that twice, that we got the officer, and no member of this committee actually had a question. Councillor Packham.
I think we're in a situation like we were at Garden Lane, Chair, where we had issues on highways and we did need to talk to the officer on site about those. Now, the officer still didn't agree with us, but that's beside the point. It's our decision to make. And I think that we should have the opportunity to actually look at these issues on site, because whilst it was a very good presentation and certainly the report that Martin's written is very good, I still think there are issues that we need to clarify.
So in that case, as the chairman, I'm happy for a site visit and deferment of this until we do the site visit. Are you in a position to concur with that?
I do feel that we haven't really made use of the highways officer's expert opinion while they're actually here with us in the room. But if that is the majority decision, then I think we'd have to go.
No, it's unanimous decision.
Chairman, I take that point, and I'd like to actually taking the fact there's an officer here. My question would be simply, can the officer respond to the parish council, the members of the public, concerns that are raised about the safety issues on this site?
Slightly going off tangent at the present moment.
But I've just been told there's a highways officer here. Highways.
Right. In that case, no, we're still in the debate stage. So please go ahead and ask the question. Then
I just have, Chair.
Could you repeat that, please?
Are you clear about what I'm asking? Can you address the issues that the members of the public and the parish council have raised, what concerns to do with highways? Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Right, I think with regards to Low Eggborough Road and the access, there was a couple of points made which I received in an objection yesterday, and these were to do with the parked cars, which have been mentioned today as well. I think the thing as a highway authority we've taken into consideration is the fact that the road will be widened. I know there was some conversation around whether there's the actual land to widen the road. The plans we've been given and the decision has been made on is based on the fact that they can do this widening. Now, I've had a quick look at the highway extent, and even if they were less, though it was in the objection mentioned to 5.2 metres, you can still get simultaneous passage of vehicles at 5.2 metres. You could get a car and a HGV past each other at that. So if you did have a parked car, a HGV should still be able to get past it. With regards to the parked cars again, I did check with the area office, and in the last 9 years, I didn't go any further than 9 years, we haven't had any complaints through. Now, that's recorded complaints about these parked cars. As a highway authority, we've not been aware that there is actually a problem. Again, Waste and Recycling haven't actually contacted us and said that there is a problem going through. I'm not saying they might have contacted residents about the issue, but they haven't come to us as a highway authority. Yeah, just for information, 4.8 metres is the minimum width that you can get a car and HGV past each other. I do know that there was mention about the build out. The guidance that we actually work towards, manuals for streets and various other government guidance, they do allow small sections of narrowing, so that wouldn't be a reason for the Highway Authority to recommend refusal on. With the visibility displays at Water Lane, the plans, I wanted, there was some disagreement to start with about what level of visibility displays should be achieved. And the applicant has provided plans showing that the recommended levels can be achieved. So again, you know, there wasn't a reason for me to recommend refusal on that basis. The level, the transport statement that's been produced has been produced correctly. It's concentrated on the peak hours of traffic, which is what we do. That's the national standard they've used. TRICS database to obtain the level of trips that the site will generate. And having looked at it, and I did get a second opinion from one of our consultants, and they have also confirmed that the data does seem accurate. And the way the TRICS database works is you look at similar sites around the country, taking out any areas like London that would be irrelevant to this area. And it works out a figure, a trip rate, and they do seem accurate to us. So, yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions, but there's some of the things that was raised today.
Councillor Crane.
2 follow-up questions, and if I may, we heard the issue about the bin wagons in Water Lane, and trust me, we've got similar issues in Brayton. So is that a consideration when you looked at this development? And the second question would be, they said they could extend the road in that area. If they start developing and haven't extended it, where would we then be?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, but the condition is worded that they have to carry out the widening before anything starts on site.
Bear with me for a moment. I just want to find the exact condition number. Yeah, so it's condition 3 on page 44 of the agenda. So it requires the off-site highway works and crucially a timetable for their completion to be agreed with the council. So if you decide to impose that condition, it gives the council control. Thank you.
Councillor Shawright.
Just a comment. We've had the usual threat that if we don't do anything about this, they'll go for non-determination. This council validated this application in December 2023. So somebody has been sat on their bottom for a very, very long time to bring it here and say, if you don't do as you're told, it'll go for non-determination. That's not our problem, and it's not their problem. Just saying.
Thank you for that. Councillor Warnican.
Just for clarification, because I've heard the phrase about if the land's available, does the widening of this road involve any CPOs?
It doesn't, councillor.
Any other contributions to the debate stage? If not, the officer's recommendation is that this application be granted subject to conditions set out in the report and the prior completion of a section 106 agreement. Do I have a proposer for that? Do I have any alternative proposals? Sorry, Councillor Blackham. Yes, I was wanting somebody to say that formally, though. Right, in that case, Councillor Warnick, you are proposing, don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Yes,
you are
Chairman,
seeking deferment so that we can have a site visit.
On the reasons what Councillor Packham gave.
I'm glad you put that in, and Councillor Shawright was seconding that.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that the decision to have a site visit, obviously it's within, it's the development planning officer who decides that, not the chair. Are we satisfied that we have reasons for a site visit? Do you think?
I think although we have got the evidence available to us, we're clearly not going to reach a point where we're going to be able as a committee to make that decision. So I think that would be the correct procedure to undertake.
And has Dawn got the reasons for the site visit? Those should be noted, I think, in the motion. If you're going to propose a motion to defer for site visits, and you should give reasons why.
So you're happy you've got those, Dawn? Okay, in that case, let's move to a vote. Can I see all those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. The application is deferred for the moment so the committee can actually go on a site visit. And hopefully, if that's not too long in the organising, which I don't think it will be, we should be coming back fairly quickly. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we can now move on. I will allow those in the gallery who wish to go. We'll just allow Ellis to get.
Planning meeting in the Methodist Hall, Edinburgh, following that, so we can make a decision. I know we have to give a week's notice. I mean, the date was hypothetical, but we could do that.
No.
We'd have to wait. No?
Is the straight answer no? We wouldn't encourage that because we wouldn't want to see that there was any bias, and so quite often the locality. It happened at Ripon Cathedral actually, and you have to be very careful where you hold planning committee meetings so that there's absolutely no perception of bias. I think a more formal venue that's completely neutral would be preferable.
But transparency, Chair, shouldn't they have to be live streamed anyway in those locations out there?
You would need to go through all the formal procedures, and you're quite right. So dare I say the logical place would be back here. At the present moment, the next meeting's 20th of November. Councillor Packham.
Can I ask in that case that we ask officers to arrange a site visit ASAP and that we do come back here with this application at the next opportunity?
The only thing in the back of my mind is that if, for instance, if any members of the committee are unlikely to be able to make the potential meeting, it would be also, well, it says it in the Constitution, you would also include potential substitute members.
I won't be on the 20th of November.
No, but we're even saying it might be at a different date or
I'll say
whatever.
there's 3 out of 7 won't be here. And one of them might not even be on the committee. So
I was going to mention that, but I thought better of it because I thought that was beneath you.
Now I get counted to something
Yeah.
me. That'll cheer you.
Okay, let us move on. Right, item number 5. This is Primrose Hill Farm,
Can I just
Common Lane, Burn.
Chairman, before you go into this, can I just ask, the fact that I'm an NFU member, does that preclude me or not?
Right, I'm going to pass this over to Kate. Kate's having a good afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I've had a quick look. I've obviously read the report, and I think it's the intended tenant may be the NFU. Is that's what the concern is? Well, there isn't any firm intention that it will be the NFU, and I think your association by membership and the fact you've taken out some insurance policies with them, would that give, the test is, would that give the perception of bias to the normal reasonable person that you are somehow in cahoots with the NFU to get them in as a tenant there? I personally, I don't, as a reasonable bystander, I don't think that would be an issue. It depends on your extent of involvement with the NFU and whether you've had any discussions with them about this application.
Well, for clarity, Chair, I haven't.
Right. Okay.
My involvement is minimal.
Right.
And I do use insurance services, but out of the Ripon office, so I've no
Right.
connection whatsoever with this area. Thank you.
Councillor Shorey.
It's just a matter of accuracy in the report. Point 2.4 says that the National Farmers Union represents the interest of farm workers. It does not. Unite the Union is in the interests of farm workers. It took over from the National Union of Agriculture and Allied Workers that started in 1906 and was subsequent then taken over by the Transport and General Workers Union. It's now Unite. The NFU is for the bosses. It's not for the workers. I understand the officers quite even won't understand the history of trade unionism, but it does matter, really. Thank you.
Thank you for that history lesson, etc. In which case, and yes, I can tell. I'm now going to invite Ellis to present.
There are no updates, just to start with that. And before I go through the presentation, I will just point out that the applicant is Stainer Farms. NFU Mutual are the intended tenant of the proposed offices, but through this process, we don't have any mechanism to secure NFU Mutual as the tenant, either to begin with or going forward, or any future tenancies of the proposed offices. The officer's recommendation to extend and change the use of the agricultural buildings is to refuse permission for the following 3 reasons, which I'll just briefly outline. The proposed development is not considered to be acceptable in principle, as the buildings require extensive alteration, rebuilding and extension in an unsustainable location. Due to the excessive scale of the proposed extensions, the development would have an adverse impact on the character of the host buildings. And the proposed development is not considered to be acceptable in terms of flood risk due to a lack of sequential test in order to assess the proposal. I'll come back to some of the points in the reasons for refusal later. The site location plan shows there are actually 2 agricultural buildings subject to this proposal. There's a larger one and a smaller one there, shaded in red. And you can see with the blue outline here that the rest of the agricultural unit and the surrounding land is also under the same ownership. This image just shows the relationship of the site to the nearest main road, which is the A1041. And here the application site is underneath the red arrow, so you can see the villages of Brayton, Burn and I can't see it myself, Barlow. They're all within about 2 to 2.5 kilometres of the application site. The proposed block plan here indicates the level of proposed parking, which are 5 parking spaces plus a disabled parking space. It also indicates the footprint extension, which is the filling in of the gap between the 2 buildings, and a single-storey side extension to one of the longer sides of the building. The existing plans of the site show that there is an existing level of car parking, shows a proximity of 2 dwellings, a large agricultural building, and it highlights that the buildings subject to conversion are largely single-storey, with the exception of 1 small 2-storey element. And the proposed plans there show the single-storey long side extension, the link extension to join the 2 buildings together, and then quite a long first floor extension. We'll just go through some photos. So this is approaching the site from the west, which would be from Burn along Common Lane. And the Common Lane, for most part, is bounded by quite tall hedgerows and sporadic large trees, so you don't really get to see the site until you're upon it. What you see first are these larger agricultural buildings adjacent. And you can just see next to the grey agricultural building in the foreground, you can just see the end of the smaller shed. And there you see the agricultural buildings. You can see the 2-storey element to the rear and then larger single-storey elements in front of it. This is now heading away from the site eastward towards the A1041, and you can see slightly the building subject to this application. The site's more dominated by the farmhouses behind that and then the agricultural buildings further south. This is just a glimpse view in a gap in the hedgerow. Coming back to the first reason for refusal in relation to the sustainability of the site, the supporting document submitted make reference to a bus stop, which is approximately 12 or 13 minutes walk from the application site, and that being a factor in the site sustainability. So the blue dotted line starts on the A1041, which is roughly the position of the bus stop, and ends at the site entrance. And I'll just go through the route. So the red arrow there is the location of the bus stop. It's actually an unmarked bus stop, and there's no information provided as to what bus routes use this or how often the buses run. It's also noted that if you were travelling to the site from Selby from the north, you would get off the bus on this side of the A1041 and you would then have to cross the main road. You would have to walk down the A1041 on a grass verge. The junction is where the red arrow is. That's a junction into Common Lane. That's a typical view of Common Lane. Most of it along the way looks pretty much like this, and then the site entrance is there. So it's the officer's view that the site is not sustainable purely because of the location of the bus stop, because anyone needing to walk to the site would have to travel, well, firstly cross the main road, and there are no footpaths, no street lights along the way. Oh, it's also a national speed limit for the whole of the route as well. The third reason for refusal relating the flood risk. The application site is underneath the red arrow there. This is the flood map for planning, and you can see the majority of the area around the site, including the whole of the site, is within flood zone 3. The local and national policy aim to steer development away from areas at higher risk of flooding. And due to the level of extension to the building, it being more than purely a conversion of an existing building, a sequential test will be required. A sequential test was not submitted, therefore officers cannot fully assess the flood risk to the proposed development. That concludes the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any questions for the officer, please? Councillor Shawright.
Yeah, I've probably been on the planning committee long before you were born. I have never seen the it's a long way from a bus stop as a reason for refusing anything. I love the flood map because relatively recently this committee on a previous incarnation of it approved housing in the same village that's under that big dark blue stuff there. So how we can improve housing and not change the use of a building that's already there is a bit beyond me. So could you explain how we've approved housing in that area in the past, but we can't do this? And could I ask how many other assessments of how far it is to walk on a bus, from a bus to somewhere, has been part of the presentation to any application we've had over the past 25 years, including the last one that we were told it was a 3/4 of a mile walk. Other than that, I've got some questions and comments later, but
Thank you. I'll come to the bus stop point first. The point is not the distance of the bus stop. The point is the safety and sustainability of the route in regards to people that, if they're working there, are likely to need to use that possibly once or twice a day, almost every day of the week, in all weather and seasonal conditions. It's a national speed limit road. Well, both of them are. It's narrow, there are no footpaths, and there are no street lights. It's the officer's opinion that that's not sustainable, and that's a recommendation given to members. The second point on the flood policy is the assessment on this case is made on the policy that we have before us and the guidance from the National Planning Policy Framework. I do not have the details of other permissions that were granted within flood zones, and they may have been subject to various different mitigations. The what we have before us is an application which didn't submit a sequential test, so we can't fully assess the flood risk.
Did you want to come back? Or, because the only thing with flood maps, I know that I've been contacted recently and the Environment Agency update their flood maps, and it could be that the previous application was under a different flood map.
John, you're long enough in the tooth to know the flood map of Selby means we don't build anything anywhere. Apart from where the Abbey is, everything is potentially flooded. You know, it's just, but anyway, that, you know, I know things are different, things change, but
no, we're still on questions.
I'm just getting quite cynical. So the questions will come not to this application, but in future applications about where the bus stop is, how far it is to go, and the big assumption that people are going to walk to that office. They may well walk to the office where it is now, but there's car parking, and most farmers I know, including the one who lives in Wistow, comes to town council meeting, comes on his chopping tractor.
I'm not going to disagree with you, because if I was on Mastermind, buses would be my chosen subject. And a few others. More questions for the officer? No. In that case, we only have one speaker, and I've got it down here as a representative for the agent. I think that was the nicest way of putting it, and that's Amy Morrison. And just a reminder, you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. So we speak today as the NFU Mutual Yorkshire Central Agency and the Selby National Farmers Union branch, and as the intended occupier of the proposed office development. In response to the officer's recommendation for refusal, we would like to set out why we believe this application should be supported. Firstly, the application was validated on the 4th of June 2024. On the 18th of November 2024, it was advised by officers that the application was recommended for approval. Then, unexpectedly, on the 10th of February 2025, advised that this recommendation had changed to one of refusal. The shift was surprising, especially given the length of time and engagement that has gone into this process. With regard to the first and second reasons for refusal relating to the extent of alterations and the scale and impact on the host building, we would highlight that a structural survey submitted with the application confirmed that the barns are suitable for conversion. In addition, stood in the area to be occupied by the proposed extension was previously a substantial agricultural building, as evidenced on Google Earth, which was only recently demolished due to safety reasons. Had that building been capable of conversion, it would have been included in this application. As such, the extension now proposed is actually significantly less in bulk and massing than the original structure, and we therefore do not believe it would have had an adverse impact on the character of the host buildings. The site is, in our view, in a sustainable location as is accessible by public transport. Turning to the third reason for refusal concerning flood risk, we would like to refer to section 8.4 of the Council's own strategic flood risk assessment. This confirms that a sequential test is not required for a change of use or redevelopment of existing buildings. The proposed development is less vulnerable, which means an exception test is also not required. Furthermore, the flood risk assessment submitted with the application notes that the flood extent shown on the planning map reflect a without defences scenario. According to Environment Agency data, and on the assumption that existing river defences remain intact, this development will not flood during its lifetime in a design event. We would also stress that no statutory consultees have raised any objections to the proposal. By way of further support for the proposal, we submitted a letter of support explaining our urgent need to relocate from our current Selby office. Our existing premises present serious operational challenges. We are affected by persistent antisocial behaviour, vermin infestation, and ongoing noise issues from neighbouring businesses. More critically, the building no longer supports our ability to grow, evolve, or meet the needs of our expanding team. The layout is unsuitable for those with mobility needs, with essential facilities like toilets and kitchen areas located on the first floor and no realistic way to address accessibility. We have spent 6 years actively searching for a suitable alternative with a strong desire to remain near Selby. This is where most of our team live, and remaining local is vital for the team stability and continuity. Our agency has a proud track record of investing in professional development through apprenticeships and supporting Chartered Insurance Institute qualifications. We are also deeply committed to the local community. Through the NFU Mutual Agency Giving Fund, we've donated around £35,000 to local causes in the Selby area. Regrettably, our current building has become a barrier to progress. It's too constrained for future growth and simply no longer meets modern operational needs. That's why we approached the applicant about relocating to Primrose Hill Farm. Its proximity to Selby allows us to stay rooted in the community while offering the space, flexibility and accessibility required to secure our future. The move would also enable us to create new jobs and continue serving our farming clients and members across the region from a modern, fit-for-purpose base. If this opportunity does not proceed, we will be forced to relocate further afield, something we're extremely reluctant to do given our commitment to the Selby area. We hope the Council will take thoughtful account of the long-term business and community value of this proposed relocation. We firmly believe the proposal contributes positively to the area's economic, social and environmental sustainability. In conclusion, we respectfully submit that there are no substantive grounds for refusal and that planning permission should be granted. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much indeed. So that was the only speak. Oh, beating me to it. We're now moving to the debate stage. This is for the benefit of the people watching, the hundreds watching us at the moment. Councillor Lunn first.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is an attempt by some of our rural residents to make rural places more feasible, really. And I don't think we have real grounds for refusing it. If we were to look at the flooding and look at the access for buses, we would knock down half of Leeds Road in Selby. I think the NFU are moving. They're moving to a farm site, and farm sites are what farmers and most of the insurers look to, those that don't do it on the internet. I'm for approving. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shawright.
Yeah, I'm going to talk both ways. She's not unusual. I'd be actually sad to see him go from Finkel Street. I think it's a cracking little shop. The stuff they do in their window, most seasons they do some fantastic window dressing and window displays. So I'll be sad if they went. I'm concerned about the antisocial behaviour and I'm concerned about the rat infestation, but I'm not surprised about that. So putting that to one side, so I would like to vote not to have it so they can keep in Selby, but they're going to go anyway. I can't see rationale for not allowing it because it's farm diversification, which we're told we're all supposed to be doing. It is a valued contributor to the local economy in Selby. It's a well-used facility, if you like, and people would want to keep it in Selby. And I think if it goes from Selby, it'll end up somewhere like Howden, etc. And there'll be more people leaving Selby for jobs. I think the bus, walking from the bus stop is a bit of a red herring, really. It's not going to work. People don't, people drive everywhere in Selby. And there's not that many buses. I just think if we could condition it, that it was office space, and if we'd condition it even further, it was just for the NFU and NFU Mutual, I'd be more content, but if not, I'll be quite happy to support what Cliff's suggesting, Chair.
Thank you for that. I'm going to move on to Councillor Packham now.
Sorry, Chair, but I've got a couple of questions which have come up as a result of the discussion. The first one is, I understood from the report that the connection between the business, which is an insurance business, and the NFU, is somewhat slender in that, as I understood it, they're basically general insurers. That's what the report appeared to say. Is that correct?
The information I received from the agent and supporting letters was that NFU Mutual, the general insurer, were the intended tenant, but that they currently do have some members of staff from the union working from their Selby office.
And as far as we understand it, they continue to work from this office?
I haven't been made aware of otherwise.
My second question was, NFU aren't the applicants, the owners of the farmers are the applicants. So we've no guarantee that this would be occupied by NFU anyway, as I understand it. From what I also understand from your report, it wouldn't necessarily be an office because of the provisions of the use classes order. Is that also correct?
Yes, use class E covers a variety of uses, including, for instance, indoor sport and leisure restaurants. The planning application description does specify office, but it does open the door to potentially some permitted changes within use class E in the future, which we couldn't control today.
I know, as I mentioned, we are in the debate stage, so did you want to mention anything or should I go together? No, that's fine. Councillor Crane.
I mean, it's not often we've got an application in front of us when there's no objections whatsoever and the local MP is supporting it, is there? And when we talk about the floodplain, these buildings are already there. They're not new. There's a connection between them, but there's no new building. So it's already in a floodplain, whatever they do with it. And to say the bus stop is a red herring is being very, very kind. On the same side of the road, there is a nursery for small children, aged between 1 and 4, or 0 and 4. So are we saying it's okay for them to get off the bus the other side of the road, but not for farmers? I'm struggling to see the logic in it, if I'm honest with you, Chairman. I can just see no reasons for refusal. It seems to me that we're going to keep jobs in the Selby area, not in the middle of Selby town, I know, but in the Selby area. Good, well-paid jobs. I'm sure 99.9% of people that go there will go in a tractor or a car. So I don't think that will be a huge issue. And it supports a local farmer and it supports the National Farmers Union. I don't think we can force them to rent it to the NFU. If, you know, they do the building and Lloyds Bank want to inhabit it, then that would be a matter for them, wouldn't it? Although, given that Lloyds have moved right out of town, I think that's extraordinarily unlikely. But I just cannot, I'm sorry, I just cannot see a reason for refusal. I'm going to support it, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Warnican.
It's a question, really. If this was for a domestic property, you know, a house or whatever, would it come under pre-notification?
An application could be submitted for, do you mean under class Q for conversion? Yes, without looking at any details, couldn't say whether one would be approved. And obviously there are limits in terms of the extension and the size of the curtilage, so it's not quite a like for like proposal.
I appreciate that, but my point is, under that classification, it's still in a floodplain, it's still near a bus stop. You know, those issues, over to you.
If you were to apply for a class Q, you'd have to consider flood risk. So obviously it's in flood zone 3. So we'd obviously still have that debate to be had, because obviously that's a significant concern for someone to be living in flood zone 3. The sequential test information, the guidance from the government has very recently changed, only in the last week or so, and that now puts it there that the sequential test should be undertaken for any application unless it meets a very small exemption criteria, which is, for instance, a small house extension or a change of use. The minute that you add any built form into that, the sequential test comes into play, because at that point you are then altering the amount of hard standing, the built form, the risk element for the sequential test. So this application, where it may well meet the sequential test, we don't know because we don't have that information. It wasn't submitted with the application. The other thing to consider, obviously, is that we do have to look, the government guidance. The MPPF is funded on sustainable location. The minute that you have to get into a car to reach somewhere, you are not looking at it as a sustainable location. It has to be available for services, for buses, for trains. When you don't have that, you no longer consider it a sustainable location. So it doesn't abide with the guidance with the MPPF, and it is against the policies in our own local and core strategy documents.
Councillor Packham.
Thanks, Chair. I fear I'm going to fall out with everyone else on this committee at this point, but I'm afraid that I do actually agree with the officer's recommendation. My view is this is an unsustainable location. It's a long way from anywhere where you could get public transport, even if you discount the bus stop, or even if you count the bus stop even. I think the bus stop is a bit of a red herring. It's just an unsustainable location. It's miles away from anywhere, and we're expecting to have 6 offices there, which aren't there at the moment. So I entirely agree with that. The second thing that I find difficult to grasp is that we've no guarantee that this will be occupied by the NFU. We've no guarantee in reality what use it'll be put to if it is converted. So on both of those counts, I think that I have concerns. It's also in a no sequential test about the flood risk. If they had submitted a sequential test, they may have been able to prove something that we haven't seen, but it's not there. So from that point of view, I find the officer's recommendation in line with policy. I think it's sensible, and I will be supporting the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Shawright.
Yeah, we live in a very, very rural district within an immensely rural county. If we're going to start putting weight on whether you can get somewhere on a bus, we ain't going to develop anything in the Dales or the moors at all. It is just ridiculous. We have to accept that there ain't buses and people travel around in cars. And wherever your employment prospects are, I'm retired now, but I've worked in Selby for only 3 years after my Selby town, out of my sort of working life. The rest of it was travelling, usually to the likes of Hull, Leeds, Wakefield and Doncaster. My last job, I could have got on a public transport to get there, but I'd have set off the day before I was coming back, because it's just not possible. And I think as a council, we need to get real. And there's some things we really need to look at and work with the government about recognising that not everywhere is Manchester or London. Thank you.
Councillor Arthur.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'd just like to support what people have said against the recommendation, because I think it's important that we keep this facility in Selby area. So I'll be voting against the recommendation.
Right, I'm going to come in and I'll just make a comment on that, because whilst that's positive, it's not a planning matter, right? I'm reminded of a comment I made a number of years ago with regard to a particular planning application. And after we'd made a decision, I said, well, we've made the correct decision, but it's not the right decision. And my head is telling me one thing and my heart is almost telling me another. As chairman, I've got to make sure that we decide these matters on planning law. And so I'm actually going to go with Bob on this. And I would say reluctantly, I honestly do think that the bus stop is a red herring completely and utterly. So that's where I stand, but I've heard what everybody says. So if nobody else is going to come in, I'm going to move on and say that the officer's recommendation is for refusal. And do I have a proposer for that? Councillor Packham, and I will second it. And no, that's fine. I was going to say, and do we have anything to the contrary? And can you just word what it is? Because it may be direct Or the other thing that if you do have, if it's going for refusal, if that wins, there's got to be reasons for refusal. Oh, sorry for, oh, I'm getting lost on the, I'm going backwards and forwards for approval, correct?
Yes, that's right. You'd have to have robust reasons for approval based on material planning considerations if you were going to go against officer advice here. Secondly, if you're thinking of a different motion, is that my understanding?
Well, that depends. That's why I was open and waiting for people to say something.
Just to remind you, you don't have a suite of conditions in front of you to approve anything today.
I've only just rejoined this committee, clearly for something I've done wrong at some point in my life. I'm lost as to why we have to have reasons for approval. If we think that we disagree with the reasons for disapproval, surely you just approve it. I don't have to give reasons for approval, do I? Well, okay. Well, what conditions do the officers suggest then that we should have? I just don't know. These buildings have been there for donkey's years, as far as I know. I used to represent Burn. That was 20 years ago, and the buildings were there then. So I don't know what you want us to say. We think that it's a good application. There's no reasons to refuse it, so we want to approve it. Respect the fact that Bob and John think differently, but I don't know what reasons I need to give for approval. I think it's a good application.
Yes, no, I agree with that. You've articulated that very well, and that those are the reasons that you think basically there are no reasons to refuse. You don't agree with the recommendation of the planning officer in any of those respects. Is that what you're saying? I mean, we just have to note it, what it is that you are trying to clarify here, why you think it's a good proposal, because you are actually going to make a decision against officer advice. So it's quite serious what you're doing. So that's the first point. The second point, which I think you sort of slightly muddled in that point, is that the conditions are separate. You don't have a suite of conditions in front of you, so you can't possibly approve a planning permission today. So you have the option of, well, sometimes we do have a suite ready if we think, we don't today. So the option is either it is deferred and comes back to committee for you to approve with a full suite of conditions in front of you, or you delegate to the planning development manager, whichever is more convenient for you, perhaps.
I'm looking at both Councillor Shorey and Councillor Crane.
Could I suggest then that we defer? Oh no, we approve the application and delegate the nitty gritty to the development manager, development management team manager and senior planning officer, with the knowledge that the majority of the committee wish to approve it.
Yeah, I was going to say we've not had a formal vote, but from what everybody's said,
if the committee were to approve it,
exactly,
we would expect the officers to respect the elected members' views. And just as totally aside from that, if we didn't have any, what you said, it's a very serious decision. What would happen?
What would happen if you didn't have any what?
We approve it, no conditions, and please tell us what happened. It's a very serious decision we made, fine. But what are the consequences?
Oh, be irresponsible.
Yeah, but for whom? And who's going to say I'm irresponsible?
Well, who's going to say you're irresponsible?
Yeah,
I think the public might hold you to account. I think.
Well, they can do every 4 years.
Anybody else through. I mean, if you like, we could separately go through the constitution and the code, and I can.
Well, there's things in the constitution that are going to change. I can tell you now. But the issue for me is that, as has been said, there's no objections locally, no objections from the parish council, no objections from Uncle Tom Copley and all. Even Sam Smithson are objecting. So there isn't a hue and cry in the village that they're going to come after Mark Crane with burning sticks because he used to represent them. It just seems to me that we should be encouraging development where appropriate. And as a committee, the majority of the committee are probably going to say this is appropriate rather than putting obstacles in the way. And I found a couple of times today that the the view coming from up there is that we need to do what you want to do, where probably you need to do what we want to do. Because we represent the public, and if the public don't like me in 18 months' time, they can tell me to go for a walk. So I just think there needs to be a balancing of the power.
Right, I want to move on, and I understand where you're coming from, and I'm still going on about correct and right. Okay, so I'm going to take it that that is an amendment, or is it directly opposite? All I want to do is do it in the right order. No, no. We had a proposal and a seconder to back the officer, but then we've had another one come in, and all I need to do is find out from you whether or not that's taken as directly opposite, or whether I can take it as an amendment, in which case, if it's an amendment, I take it first. We'll get there in the end anyway. In that case, I'm going to be stand up. Can I see all those in favour of backing the officer's recommendation for refusal? That's 3. All those against the officer's recommendation, that is 4. Right, in which case, as long as we're happy that the reasons they have given, it's been
to the 2 officers to work with whoever from over there.
Yeah.
To come up with the acceptable conditions that it's an office. Full stop.
I think it was just the reasons we were asking for voting against officer recommendation, but I think you've.
I find it an acceptable development in the countryside that will bring economic security to the village, and leave me with a spare shop in town that I have to find something to do with.
Okay.
That's fine. Furthermore, then we need to have a new vote, a new motion, don't we? On and it would be a recommendation, more minded to approve, because you wouldn't be approving today, because as I said, you haven't got the conditions. So it would be minded to approve with delegation to the development manager of development office manager.
Right. So in that case, that's Steve and Mark who are proposing seconding. Can we vote on that? Do we all understand that? Okay. So all those in favour of that? And all those against? So that's 5-2. Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 6. Oh, it's been brought back, gang. No, it hasn't. Item number 7. Any other items? No other items. Date of next meeting, unless otherwise informed, 20th November 2025.
Councillor Catt,
Dare I say?
Sorry, if I could just say it is a Thursday, the next meeting, not Wednesday.
Oh, it's a Thursday. But I think 3 of you said you're on holiday at that time anyway. I'm going to close the meeting. I'm also going to say, as per usual, safe journey home. Thank you all for attending. It's been a very interesting meeting.